Hello, hello, hello. Greetings and greetings. Oh, I am just feeling good right now. I'm on a road trip cross country. First couple days with my father and met up with a friend. And now we've been driving along for several days and we're in Wyoming right now, which is a state that I have not had much time in. And we're stopping tonight. We're going to camp out just in hammock, and he's using a hammock, I'm using a bivy sack. But we're in a little national forest campground, and I just feel good. The sunset just went down over there, and really kind of like 360 degrees, different colors in different places coming through the different gaps, and just awesome. In some ways reminded me of Burning Man sunsets, which are just, and sunrises. Oh, we'll check out the sunrise. Ooh, yeah. Just feels so good to be in nature. I've been feeling a bit not real on point. I've been in USA now for a little over a month. I arrived here the 24th of April, and I think, what is today, the 29th or something like that of May. So a little over a month, and also 27th of May was 3 months since I've been 37. And since I had the commitments that I made for 37, no substances, no sexual activity of any kind, including pornography and masturbation, fantasy, no reading any books except for Siddhartha and Art of Living Vipassana book, no watching movies, no watching shows, no I have other ones, I know what they are. Basically, no deep dives into learning, no ingesting lots of new information. The point being, reducing as many as I can think of the distractions that I use to avoid being with myself in the moment, and instead distracting myself. And so, 1/4 of the way through the year, proud to say, I've been very successful. Reading has been a temptation. I've felt, what about just let me add in this one book here because it seems so fitting right now, and I almost did that. Movies and shows, that have not been real a challenge. I watched one with my mother, but grandmother, those things I had said, okay, if that arises and they really want to, then I will. Substances, no challenge. I've had some thoughts about psychedelic journeys, but I feel very confident that time to take this year without those, and then can return as is fitting. Sexual activity, very successful until about a week or 10 days ago. I had about 5 days in a week where I was just burnout, and being burnout, my old habit pattern is to go into sexual activity. Generally like sexting or chatting, or, previously also casual sex and meeting up. So those 5 days got on to like dating apps or chats and sexual, moving in that direction. Not to actually meet up with anyone, but just to get that rush, get that stimulation, and some pornography and masturbation with it. So that was interesting to see because it's such a familiar feeling. going into those things and feeling that rush. It just hits so fast, that boom. Drop those neurochemicals in there and just feel the body, feel the heart start beating, the breath getting shallow, feel even a bit of lightheadedness, and it's been near on a year since I've done that. And I really haven't felt challenged over this past year for the most part. There have been different times there's slight temptation, but haven't really felt challenged. And even this time I really did not feel that challenged. I was just at a apathetic place where I was like, I don't care, And I knew that is a potential, especially in this environment that I'm choosing to put myself in right now, which is live with my father in my childhood home, have lots of interactions with my mother. Not that there's anything wrong or bad about that. It's wonderful, and I'm very grateful to be with my mother and be with my father, and to be able to stay with them. But it is also a place, a physical environment, the home, and the psychological environment, our relationships, which has a lot of history and a lot of really strong conditioning from times where I was just living and acting and reacting in very unconscious ways because I was just trying to survive mentally as a child growing up. Again, not that there was extreme abuse or something like that, but just there was the things that occur in childhood, familial challenges, financial challenges, arguments, fights, feeling just, lost, and using escape mechanisms like when I discovered and subsequently went into pornography and unhealthy sex and those things, all deep, strong roots in that place. And then my relationships with my mother and father, we love each other. They're at a better place than they've ever been in my adult life. And we also have still some unconscious automatic ways of viewing each other as if we are still that image that we created for each other years or decades ago, and still kind of looking at that image instead of looking at who we are. And so judging actions based off of that image, which was created during a time of pain and sadness and anger and whatever, So interactions with my father where he'll do something which for him, it's clearer to me now more than ever before. He just wants to love people and be loved, and he just wants to help people. But the way that he does it is a way which is not always easily recognizable as love, and is a way which he's grown so much in these years, as has my mother, as have I, as have everyone in our family. He's grown so much, but he will do something, communicate something with me, which if someone else did it, it would be literally nothing to me. I mean, I'm at a place of I'm really pleased and happy and proud of the place I am where I can interact with people and not take things personally and see that they are acting, if it's a way which could come off as aggressive or mean or something of that sort, I can just see that they're coming from a place of pain, doing the best that they're able to do. But then it comes from my father. And it's sometimes it's just immediate reaction from me of this place of pain and hurt, and this is not right, this is not fair, or else trying to tell him, oh, you should know this, let me teach you why this is wrong and this is not right, you shouldn't be doing this or whatever, and then that just comes off as judging him, which is not generally too appreciated. So it's been interesting, and it's been more challenging than I expected. As much as I knew that it had the potential to be challenging, and historically it has been challenging. And I've never actually lived with him in my childhood home for a month as an adult. But I'm taking it as, just like I took the darkness, just like I took any of these other experiences, I could leave. I could stay at a friend of the family's. I could rent a place. I could just be done with it, and say, well, we're just not at that place. But I'm choosing to take this as, just like when I decided I'm going into darkness and I'm not going to come out. And I know there's going to be challenges. I know there are going to be unknowns that can arise. But I have looked at this for an extended amount of time. I've thought about it. I've pondered on it. I've walked and talked and discussed it with myself for days and weeks and even months. I've looked at what are the potential challenges, potential pitfalls, and what are the potential repercussions, and what are the potential benefits from coming through it. And I have determined that whatever may arise in the moment, as tempting as it may be, as much as it may seem like, oh, well, maybe now is not the time. Why don't you just leave? Why don't you just quit? Why don't you just come back and do this another time? Oh, don't worry. I've looked at those potential temptation justifications that the mind can bring up, and I've looked at them long and hard over weeks. This is what I like to do before I make a commitment to anything. I don't like to jump into commitments, because as I've discussed previously, I feel that the breaking of commitments is something that is so damaging to the relationship I have with myself, because I'm telling myself that I don't really trust myself. My word doesn't really mean anything. And so when I try to commit to something like being more healthy in some way, or not getting angry in some way or something, I have conditioned myself to think, oh yeah, that commitment doesn't mean anything. Sam's just gonna break the commitment, so don't worry about it. So I'm like literally sabotaging myself if I just make commitments willy-nilly, jump into them without preparing and thinking. So I like to really take time. I like to walk and talk and have discussions with myself out loud. One side will speak, and then the other side will answer. Just let it flow, journal with it, do these things. So I've done that. And I know that the challenges can arise living with my father, being with my mother and father. For the previous 15 months, I was living free as a bird, literally. Like, what do I want to do today? I do whatever I want, not constrained financially, because I'm living in a place where it costs $3 to $10 to rent a hotel. I can live for $100. I can live for weeks on $100 worth of food, or a month. And I had the freedom to do what I wanted. And instead, now I'm saying I'm going to live here in this environment with very strong idiosyncratic rules and things. But I believe that if I continue, of course, I check in and I see, is my continuing to be here, is this actually bringing about damage? Yes, we have disagreements, even arguments. Sometimes I've gotten angry, I've sworn. I even threw my coffee mug full of tea mug full of tea on the ground at one point. And, that's not something that I'm interested in, expressing anger like that. But I do think that it's very important to have those situations arise when I'm at a place where I'm able to observe it, I'm able to look at it, and I'm able to explore why it occurs, because I would much rather have that occur in that sort of environment than I would have it occur sometime in the future, just totally unexpected or something like that. So I can go in and I can I can work to deconstruct these triggers. I can find these sensitive areas. I can go in, I can do practices where I relive that. Every evening, I go through the day as I'm laying in bed, before I go to bed, as I'm going to bed, after meditating. I go through the day from the start of the day to the end of the day. And I just go with every thing that I remember. And that has many different benefits. One of them is that at some point during the day, I will come on times where there was some sort of emotional experience. And I will feel that experience, I will relive it, and I will relive it over and over and over until I get to a place where it no longer stimulates me emotionally. I no longer feel my muscles tensing. I no longer feel my heart rate increasing. I no longer hear myself getting upset and justifying my actions, and instead I can visualize myself in that experience going about it, as I say, as Ideal Sam does. Ideal Sam, who I know I am, just being that place of loving acceptance and peace and respect and graciousness. And as I do that, it's a practice, my friends. As I have attempted to share many times, I believe everything in life is a practice. And I don't think that most anyone understands what I'm saying when I say that. The vast majority hear the words like practice or conditioning and they think, oh yeah, I know what conditioning is. So few people have I met who actually understand what conditioning is. Conditioning is happening continuously. Every moment of the day, every thought that I'm thinking is conditioning me in some way. Like I said, this is why I do things like this. This means I love you. I want to condition as many positive things as possible. So many of us, we may have challenging relationships with a family member or someone else. And so we may have some argument, some disagreement. We say, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that next time. I'm not going to do that. But we don't practice what it means to how we do want to live, how we do want to interact. And so next time that thing comes around, and we've already practiced getting angry many times. We've practiced it hundreds of times probably, and we've seen everyone in our family, everyone in our community, everyone in every freaking movie that comes out that's only about violence. How do they handle things? They get angry. What are the music that we listen to these days? Even any type of music, country, hip hop, come on. I mean, it's not even trying. Pop, it's all about negative reactions, getting angry, it's not fair, these sorts of things. And so is it any surprise that we're conditioning ourselves to think this is what we do in relationships, and then we have an interaction and we respond with anger, or we respond by closing down, or we respond with passive aggressive? Is it any surprise? No, that's what we practice. So instead, I take time every day to practice the actual specific experience that I knew I responded in some way that I know I could respond in a more positive way. So I take time to practice it over and over in my mind. You may think that's silly, but it's not. Studies have been shown when we think about something, or when we actually physically do it, if I play the piano or I think about playing the piano, the same parts of my brain are activated. And they have done studies where the one group practices playing the piano physically and one group just practices mentally. And after several months, the people who practice mentally are able to go to the piano and actually play it. It's real. And so practicing how we want to be is so important. So anywho, I just wanted to share a little bit about what's going on, giving you a checkup for accountability for myself, to share the truth about how these 3 months of commitment so far have been going, and this time with my father, and being in nature, man. It's something that I have been saying for years. I remember saying it when I was in the Marine Corps, and I got out in 2016, so that's been over 4 years, or coming up on 4 years. Is it 4 years? No, coming up on 5 years. Wow. But I mean, over 5 years I've been saying, oh, nature is so important to me. I remember when I was a child, I loved it so much. I've got to be more in nature. I've been saying it for so long, and I have been not making a point of it. Sure, go camp a little bit here and there, but I'm talking, let's start being more in nature. And just sitting here on this stone as the sun sets with this gorge around. I can hear the living water of the river flowing. I hear people laughing. I smell the bonfires. This is the way we were meant to live. It's the way we've always lived. It's the way our DNA, our genome, it knows to live. This is how I'm meant to live. It's time for me to really start living this. So I'm making a commitment to that. I love y'all. I bless you. Namaste.